Check, check, check. Oh, I'm on. Okay, I'm gonna take the opportunity here to kind of show what I'm doing and also fix a problem. I actually just added this table into the background and inadvertently put it on the wrong layer. And because of that, because I put it on the same layer with my characters, the minute I go to the next keyframe, it disappears. Here's how you solve that. I'm going to hit Control Star, which in my case isolates this color. I'm going to select all. I'm going to move it to the temp layer. I'm going to hit Control Star again. So now the red is no longer isolated. And go back here. Okay, so that worked. Alright, so what I did was at the end of the scene, you know, up to the point that's all, you know, that's already done, we get up here and Akari opens her eyes, and so we know she's awake. And as I mentioned in the previous video, the two ninjas poking their heads up in the window is going to be removed. And actually another change that's going to take place is the way this window is configured is going to have to be re-rendered, because once I drew it out and mapped out the camera move, I realized that the way it was laid out didn't really work. Now the cool thing is, in Blender, I was able to drag in a screenshot, which I just painted out the alpha channel, of that last frame from the previous shot, and could kind of ballpark actually really how far, if she was actually this size, how far would she be from that window. So that's kind of what I went with. It doesn't have to be perfect or exact, but you know, in principle, pretty close. And so if you recall, the shot initially began with all this business of the ninja guy sort of getting himself situated before he throws himself into the room. And I had said that that will probably be removed. In point of fact, actually I don't think it will be removed, because all that monkey business gives us half a second to take the camera from Akari over to where it needs to be. So we know that after ninja number 1 gets into the room, that ninja number 2 is going to come into the room in a much more clumsy fashion, and he's going to bump into this table and cause this vase to nearly be tipped over. And then ninja 1, the leader, first guy in the room, has to turn around, respond to that, try to keep it, you know, catch it. And at that point the fun will ensue, because it turns out Akari has already relieved him of one of his weapons. So anyway, so that business of him, as you can see it right here, getting into the room is actually kind of useful. So we got this camera move, and then we'll have this camera move to show this guy starting to get into the room. Then we'll probably do a jump cut to closer on him, try to choose a different camera angle, but I think this is basically working pretty well. So I hate to do such a short video and add it to the playlist, but I think I'm going to have to, because I didn't really want to spend a lot of time here, but I did want to kind of show where this is going. Okay, so let's hit A and let the whole thing play. Pretty cool. Now, to be perfectly accurate, what I'm probably going to do, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is pull out like this, or I could add a second camera. One thing I could do in Blender is add a second camera. But I think what I'm going to do is I will wind up hiding Akari, and I'm just telling you this so you can see this is kind of how you'd solve this problem. We don't want to be married to this camera move, because in terms of what we have to animate, because it creates a lot of requirements for keyframes that might not otherwise be needed. For example, from here you can see it up in the corner here where the camera moves. Okay, so now we would have to redraw this guy, you know, quite a few times as it transitions to this other shot, and obviously we have this transition as well that would have to be animated. Well, we don't want to have to animate that. So what we'll do is we'll just go out to the front view, and then I'm thinking that we will turn off Akari. We will hide her, and then we will hide the guidelines. And what'll actually strike that. We won't hide the guidelines because remember, this isn't going to be inked in Blender. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll render this, but I'll render it like at 3K. I'm going to render it much bigger than it needs to be, so that after it's inked, we can go ahead and bring it back into, probably actually bring it back into Blender, I'm thinking, and take all this animation and just map it to a plane, so that when it rolls and the camera, does its animation, everything will just be where it's supposed to be. So that's what I'm thinking workflow-wise on that. But it's a good start. There's a couple things I've been learning here. One is that you'll notice that the perspective on the table doesn't change, even though if this was a real world camera move, that perspective would change. But I'm happy to see that, in typical anime style, truly we can use a simple, really 1-point perspective actually is what that is, and it plays just fine. I mean, to me this looks really good. Yeah, and like I said, once we get to here, he starts climbing in the room. I'm thinking, again, we're going to want to jump cut to a close-up of him as he sort of struggles to get in. And, in other words, get this guy out of the shot so that we can, and I'm not going to, let me turn this off so I'm not automatically generating keyframes. I want to probably wind up somewhere like this. I'm thinking something like that will be where we'll wind up, but we'll do it in such a way that Ninja 1 winds up being out of the shot, and then we can show him struggling to get in. And maybe, I don't know yet what the shots are going to be, so I don't want to belabor that because I'm sure I'll change my mind. But anyway, that's where we're at. That took a mere 7.5 minutes to explain, and I'm looking forward to finishing this shot up, because once it gets into the action, once they start, I don't actually even know yet all that happens in this scene. I gotta talk to my partner about that, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. I can tell. So anyway, that's it for now.